from whatever bank, whatever big giant corporate entity like the military industrial complex, big oil, big energy, you name it, big pharma, for example. The list goes on and on, okay? These puppets are so busy doing exactly what their masters tell them to do that they don't even bother to stop for a moment and say, wait a minute, isn't this unconstitutional? What are the ramifications for passing all these police state laws and fucking over the people? How much more of this are the people going to take? Now, yeah, there's a huge portion of the population that's obviously been reduced to nothing more than sheeple, jellyfish zombies, whatever you want to call them, the Walking Dead. But a growing number of people are waking up from that, are starting to realize, hey, there's something wrong here. And it's not just Republicans and it's not just Democrats. It's the entire system. And I really wonder what is going through your thick skulls, elected officials, with each BS law you pass. You're pissing us off even more and more, and you can see that through what happened with the Ron Paul movement back in 2007, 2008, followed by the Tea Party movement, followed now by the Occupy Wall Street movement. Now, these groups aren't exactly the same, okay? There's some differences, but at the core, it's American citizens, young and old, from all walks of life, white, black, Hispanic, Asian, Jewish, Christian, Muslim, atheist, whatever, pissed the fuck off and fed up with this entire system. They're fed up. What they don't realize yet is that instead of the mainstream media propaganda machine and the powers that be intentionally playing these groups off each other through their lackeys that they send in to run these operations and take them over and co-opt them, that the Ron Paul movement, the Tea Party movement, and the Occupy Wall Street movement need to stop infighting. They need to stop looking at each other as a potential enemy, because in this country, we're supposed to have freedom of speech, the right to different views and point of views. And that it goes back to what I was just talking about a moment ago before I blew up at the RJC, is that despite the fact they disagree with Ron Paul, he has as much right as all the other Republican candidates, including Gary Johnson and Buddy Roemer, former governor of Louisiana, who's also running for president. I know you've heard even less about him than Gary Johnson, but yeah, he's still running. And this is a question I asked in one of my past debate previews. Why is it that the former governors of Utah and Massachusetts are more important and more qualified to be president than the former governors of New Mexico and Louisiana? All four have been governors. Shouldn't all four have the right to be on the stage with all the other candidates, whether you disagree with them or agree with them? They all deserve to be on the stage. They all deserve equal time. They all deserve to go over the right topics, because most people watching the debate are on the fence. They want to see what every candidate's point of view on every subject you bring up is all about. Not this ADD, ADHD bullshit that the mainstream media has been doing in the debates lately. And of course, it's not about actually getting information out to the people. No. It's about two things, and I've mentioned this before. It's about the ratings, and it's about the dollar signs coming in from advertisers. That's all the mainstream media gives a shit about when it comes to the debates. But you know what? The RJC, they're going to look really stupid if Ron Paul does get the nomination. And like I mentioned at the beginning of my little rant here, I fear that he most likely is going to get fucked over, like he did back in 2008, even though this time around he has a much better chance of getting it. And I think that he is the legitimate candidate, despite all the efforts by the neocon establishment of the Republican Party and the mainstream media propaganda machine to do otherwise. Because all the other candidates are a fucking joke. That's what they are, a big, fat, fucking joke. Even though they deserve to be on the stage as well, because I believe in free speech and everybody's opinions, whether or not they're puppets or not. I mean, Perry's a joke, Michelle Bachmann's a joke, Kane's a joke, he's about to be out. Newt Gingrich, Mr. NAFTA, he's a big fat ogre joke. Mitt Romney, flip-flopping, nice hair, nice smile, he's a joke. These people are all a joke, just like Obama is. And anybody left out there that actually believes that Mitt Romney, Newt Gingrich, or one of these other neocon, clowns is going to be any better than Obama is full of themselves. They're living in denial. They're playing the same song and dance that's been going on for too long. This lousy tennis match between the two-party puppet show. It's time for you to wake up. And all these assholes is like, I like Ron Paul, except for his foreign policy. What do you have against his foreign policy? What, you like bombing people and slaughtering brown people and black people of different colors in different parts of the world? You think that's cool? You think that's fine? How would you feel if the Chinese and the Russians started bombing our cities and started killing us, our friends, our family, our boyfriends, our girlfriends, our husbands, our wives, our sons, our daughters, our grandkids? How would you feel about that then? If you saw Chinese fighter jets and drones bombing our cities, blowing up buildings and homes, devastating weddings. You have a nice, wonderful Catholic wedding down the street, and it gets bombed because they suspect that there's a terrorist, at the wedding. So they decided, it's okay. Let's kill all these people, just because there might be a terrorist there, a potential Al-Qaeda agent hiding in the shadows. So it's justified to carry out that act of terrorism. No. No terrorism is justified no matter what. Torture is not justified no matter what. It's bullshit, okay? Don't you realize what we've done? Don't you realize that all this nation building, invading other countries, bombing them, killing them, slaughtering them, is not for the greater good? What do you think the ramifications are going to be to all this? How can you even dare say that America is still the greatest country on earth, or the bastion of liberty, when we're slaughtering people? You know what they should do with the Statue of Liberty? Pull down the torch, pull down the freaking book, and put a freaking sword in her hand and, someone's head in the other hand. Because we've become a freaking country of bloodthirsty monsters. And I'm sick and tired of it. I'm all about self-defense. So is Ron Paul. Okay? He wants to actually defend the border and secure it. Okay? That is national defense. Have you ever watched football? Have you? Defense is defense. Offense is offense. This is not a defensive war. This is an offensive war. This is blitzkrieg. This is invading other countries. Just like I said, I don't care what you call it. Kinetic military action, a police action, a humanitarian effort like we did in Libya without Congress's approval to declare war. Obama goes straight to the UN. Oh, gee, thanks. Wonderful. It's a great way to circumvent the Constitution yet again. He must have learned all that shit from W. and Clinton and his own father. Bush's father, Papa Bush. And this continues. And like I said, it doesn't matter which one of those other clowns, the neocons or teocons, get elected. They're not going to change anything that Obama has put in place. Just like Obama didn't change anything Bush put in place. They're going to pick up exactly where Obama left off. That's what Newt's going to do if he's elected. That's what Mitt Romney's going to do if he's elected. That's what Prick Perry's going to do if he's elected. The only one that gives us any hope, any chance, any iota of turning this shit around and hopefully one day turning the United States back into land of the free, home of the brave, and the true bastion and beacon of liberty that we're supposed to be is Congressman Ron Paul. And if you do not support Ron Paul, if you support one of the other fuckers, well, fuck you. Because you're part of the fucking problem, okay? You're blind, you're stupid. And if you still think Obama's a hero, well, you need to stop drinking the Kool-Aid. Just like the W supporters, which I formerly was one up until 2003, by the way, willing to admit that because we learned from our mistakes. You got to stop drinking that Kool-Aid, okay? It's not about the Republicans. It's not about the Democrats. For the most part, both are bought and paid for. When you're supporting Ron Paul, do not support him because he's a Republican. Support him because of the man he is, of the principles he stands for. How many other presidential candidates have sent out to his supporters a detailed list about how he's going to restore America? Graphs, charts, facts, and figures and numbers of things that he's going to cut as president. The others, you know what they do? Cliches. 999 and all that crap. Ron Paul's the only serious candidate. And if we don't get Ron Paul the nomination, if he doesn't become the 45th president of the United States, we are all fucked. It doesn't matter what class you're from. It doesn't matter what pigment your skin is, what religion you happen to believe or not believe. It doesn't matter what your sexual orientation is. All of us Americans are fucked if we don't get Ron Paul in the White House in 2012. That's the truth. If Obama continues this, we're screwed. If one of these neocons or teocons get in, we're screwed. You got to look at it that way. It's liberty versus tyranny, something I've been talking about for 2 years now, and others have been talking about much longer than me. But it's the truth. It is the absolute truth that if we do not do something now, if you don't get off your ass, like Bob Chapman and I were talking about Thursday, and do something, anything. Donate to Ron Paul's campaign. Put a bumper sticker on the back of your car. If you have a front yard, put a Ron Paul yard sign up. You don't have to go door to door. You don't have to phone bake. I don't even phone bake because I'm not into that sort of thing. But do your part. Do whatever you can do to help. Go to your family. Go to your friends. Talk to them about Ron Paul. If they laugh at you, fuck them. The goal is to win over one person at a time. You go to 10 people you know, only one of them says, you know what, I kind of like this Ron Paul guy. That's a victory. That's one more Ron Paul supporter that we have now than we had. That's what we got to do. And you think I haven't had my sense of failure in that regard? Over the past 4 years, I've been trying to talk my friends and family into supporting Ron Paul. Granted, there have been several that I have swayed. But there's still plenty of them that just laugh at me and call me a crackpot and a retard. Well, fuck them. Fuck them. Ron Paul's been warning us about this shit for years now. Decades. And how could you deny the fact that Ron Paul has been spot on after everything that's happened? The mortgage collapse, the bubble bursting, the banker bailouts, more and more of this police state. As it continues to get worse, as people lose their jobs, as more and more jobs are being sucked out of this country. Thanks to, Mr. NAFTA, Newt Gingrich and the rest of his cronies back in the 90s for pushing and supporting NAFTA. Another skeleton in his closet. Add that to the list. And yet, people actually believe that this guy would be a great president. Who the fuck are they kidding? He would be even worse than Obama, believe it or not. This scumbag, this CFR, this Bohemian Grover. It's just ridiculous. It's absolutely ridiculous that so many people are still living in denial. You know what? I like distractions. I like to play a little bit of video games every now and then. I even still like to watch a little bit of football, though I don't care as much as I used to. It's just for the fun factor. If the other team has a great play, cool, awesome, great play. But I'm not so into it like most of the fans are. I don't feel like I'm on cloud nine if my team that I used to really support wins, nor do I feel like it's the end of the world if my team loses. It's just the way it goes. It's a game, it's a distraction, it's life. And at the same time, people that go out to bars like I was earlier, that's a distraction too. It's fun to do that, to have a temporary escape. But don't live there. Set your priorities straight. It's all right to have an escape. It's all right to have a distraction every now and then, but don't make that your top priority. Don't buy in to bread and circus first, okay? There are more important things going on, like your future, my future, our children's future, our grandchildren's future, their children's future. That's what we're fighting for right now. And this election cycle is probably our last real chance to have any hope of turning things around. And Obama has failed us, and I understand why all of you supported Obama, okay? All of you Obama supporters that are listening to me, I understand. Bush fucked us over for 8 years, and Obama comes on the scene. You don't really like Hillary. I don't blame you for that. And he says all the right things. He's talking about hope and change. He's ridiculing Bush for all the crap he did. He says, when I'm president, I'm going to turn all this around. So I fully understand why you picked Obama over McCain, even though I was a Ron Paul supporter back then too. But now, after 3 years, with his track record, 180ing almost everything, proving that all that Obama is Decider 2.0. I just can't justify having you people as my friends anymore if you're stupid enough to give this guy another 4 years. And at the same time, after me talking for the past 2 years, doing a web show, doing a radio show, doing a podcast, even though I'm not the biggest alternative talk show host out there, I never wanted to be. I'm just little old me doing my thing. To those that take the time to listen to me, and I sincerely thank you for that. Without you, I probably would have given up on this a long time ago. But for those of you that do listen to me just for shits and grins, to vote for Obama or Mitt Romney or Newt Gingrich, Michelle Bachmann, Perry, or Kane, and most likely Kane's out today, he's done. For you to go and do that, you are so fucking stupid, I just want to freaking backhand you. And I know most of you don't feel that way. Most of you are in the choir and I'm singing to you. Well, singing as best as I can. I admit I'm not the most eloquent speaker out there. I'd never claim to be. I stutter, I make mistakes, I babble on and on like I'm doing right now, but I'm just mad, I'm ticked off, and I'm just sick and tired of the police state, okay? I'm sick and tired of them, seeing it. Putting each one of these jigsaw pieces together. The Patriot Act, the Department of Homeland Security, TSA, Military Commissions Act, the Constitution-Free Zone, the Free Speech Zones, safety seatbelt checkpoints, the executive orders, PDD 51, the Council of Governors, the Rural Council, and there's probably a couple I missed. And now these new amendments going into being snuck in by McCain and Levin, those scumbags, that are going to turn America into a battlefield in the war on terror and round up anybody that they suspect of being a terrorist. Well, anybody could be a terrorist. Anyone whatsoever. In fact, here's the definition of terrorism, and I'm only going to read a couple of words of the definition. If you want to look at the rest of it, feel free and go to Wikipedia. I know Wikipedia is not always the best, most reliable source on the World Wide Web, but here's the definition of terrorism according to Wikipedia. Terrorism, the systematic use of terror, especially as a means of coercion in the international community. What do you think's been happening over the past 10 years in the United States thanks to the government? With the Patriot Act and all these other police state laws and fusion centers, FEMA camps, safety seatbelt checkpoints, the harassment of people that go out, part of the Occupy Wall Street movement. You've seen all those groups being attacked by police, pepper sprayed, billy clubbed, beaten, arrested. I mean, isn't that terrorism? If we lived in a truly free republic that respected the Constitution and Bill of Rights, the occupiers would have a right to protest all they like and would never be bothered. In fact, they probably wouldn't have a reason to protest if we actually had a responsible republic government with elected officials we could count on to do the right thing and not take kickbacks. Now, I know that's a bit of a utopia, Phil, because there's always going to be corruption. There's always going to be bad cops, no matter how good of a society you live in. That's just the nature of the beast, but it's just gotten so out of control in just the 10 years alone. It's just unreal, and it really makes you wonder how much further is it going to get. Especially now that apparently the military can come door to door and round us up. Anybody for being a suspected terrorist. This is very reminiscent of what happened under the McCarthy scare. The Red Scare, where anybody could be a commie. Your neighbor could be a commie. Your brother-in-law could be a commie. Your wife could be a commie. You see where this is going? Anybody could be a terrorist now. Anybody. But the real terrorists are the ones behind this bullshit. The government elected scumbags who have been passing these police laws, they're terrorists. What's been done to the American people by our own government, by all these stormtroopers that are going along with it, is in itself an act of terrorism. And you know something? Us Americans that are awake to this bullshit, we're not going to allow you to black bag us. No. It's not going to be like Soviet Union Russia. It's not going to be like Nazi Germany where people peacefully went on the trains hoping for the best. No. And here's a warning to all the men and women in uniform, whether you're a police officer or in the military. You better think about this, because it's not going to be like the Soviet Union, and it's not going to be like Nazi Germany. Yeah, some people might go quietly. All right? Not me, and not many others. You better decide which side you're on. You better decide whether or not you're on the side of freedom and liberty with the people and the Constitution, the Bill of Rights, or are you on the side of tyranny? Which side are you going to be on? Because the people that were on the side of tyranny in Nazi Germany, they had a nice little run for a while, but eventually a lot of them ended up at Nuremberg. And the "I was just following orders" defense didn't exactly work for them. Eventually, you're going to have to answer for your crimes. You're going to have to answer for what you do. So think about that. Those of you that honestly believe that you're going to have a good old time, wiping the floor with average Joe or Jane citizen when the time comes, the night of the long knives in the U.S., you better be going house to house, prepared to die. That's what you better be gearing yourself up for. Resistance. Resistance from the American people who have been arming and defending themselves and preparing for this day. Preparing for the moment when all of our best efforts to peacefully turn things around in this country have been for naught. And that's what I'm afraid we're about to be in the middle of. Where, as JFK once said, and I quote, "Those that make peaceful revolution impossible will make violent revolution inevitable." And that's what all these groups have been all about, peaceful revolution. Whether it's the Ron Paul group, the Tea Party movement, the Occupy movement, doesn't matter. They've all been trying to peacefully bring about real change in this country. Now, do they have different views and opinions about that? Yes, they do. But there's always room to come together and work out those differences. And I'm all for that, because that's what this country is supposed to be about. Different people and different points of views. Conservative, liberal, libertarian, moderate, independent. That's cool. That's fine with me. Anytime you live in a country where it's this way or the highway, that's when you got to start worrying. And unfortunately, that's the kind of country where we're in, because it's either the government's way or black bag. And no thanks. I'd rather go in a body bag. So unfortunately, we have come to it at last. The path, the crossroad between fulfilling a peaceful revolution through Ron Paul or the violent revolution. And it will get messy and very, very nasty. And a lot of innocent people, unfortunately, are going to be caught in the middle of this. And I don't want a violent revolution, okay? I would like to have everything turn around, get Ron Paul in the White House, get some good senators and Congress critters up there for a change, not only at the federal level, but at the state and local levels, and start actually turning things around this country, pulling away these chains of tyranny in the police state and giving us all back, a constitutional republic for the people, by the people, where we're all equal and free. Unfortunately, with each passing day, I feel like that is becoming a fantasy. And I hope not. I hope I'm proven wrong. I mean, that's why I registered as a Republican, again, for the last time, by the way, so I could vote for Ron Paul coming up in the primaries here in Louisiana in a few months. So yes, I've made that sacrifice. I have registered as a Republican for the last time to vote for Ron Paul, because I believe in Ron Paul so much that every vote coming up on the caucus and all the primaries are going to be what makes the difference, in my opinion. So if you haven't changed your party yet, and you live in a closed state where they don't have an open primary, you better get on the ball. You better do it. Switch to Republican. I know it sucks. I know you got to bite the bullet, but it's the least we can do. And I've done it. I know you can do it too. And one last thing to the men and women in our uniform. Look, I respect you. I respect what you do. I respect our men and women in the military just as I respect law enforcement. I don't respect those of you who swore to uphold the Constitution yet violated every chance you get by, all the unspeakable acts you've probably heard about are partaken in. Lieutenant Pike, just one of countless examples of police brutality, contempt of cop, excessive force, whatever you want to call it. It's got to stop. It's gotten out of control, and I hope that those of you in uniform, whether you're police or military, are listening to what I and others are saying. And when the time comes, once we get to that crossroads, where you have to make a decision. I hope and I pray that you make the right decision and you stand with us, the people. When they give you the orders to come after us, I hope you say no. I hope you come and you stand beside us and you say, you know what? They told me to come for you, and I am coming for you. I'm coming to bring you into the battle. I'm coming to ask you to join us. We're resisting the tyranny, and we want the people by our side. We will back you. We will stand with you, police officers and military who stand by the people and the Constitution against this tyranny. We will. We will fight and die by your side, if necessary, to stop this. We don't want to kill any of you. We see you as fellow citizens of this great country, this once wonderful bastion of freedom. And maybe we never truly realized that until now because of the past sins of our forefathers. They were great people, but they also made mistakes, leaving some of our brothers and sisters in bondage. And of course, what was done to Native Americans is horrendous. But here, in the 21st century, when everything is so dark and bleak, when there seems like there's no hope left for this country, maybe, just maybe, we have this chance now, as all Americans, to fulfill that dream of making this truly the land of the free and a constitutional republic for all people here. Maybe we finally can do that. Make that dream a reality after 200 years of this experiment. Or it's going to become a truly tyrannical police state, and it's going to fall and collapse into the abyss. Because those of us that truly believe in freedom and liberty and are willing to fight and die for it aren't going away quietly. We're not going to let you round us up, put us on buses or trains, or haul us off to Gitmo or FEMA camps just to be either left rotting in a cell or put in forced labor or have a bullet put in the back of our head after we dig our own graves. By the way, that ain't happening. Or gassed. So forget it. We'd rather go down fighting, and if it ends up bringing the entire country down in flames, then so be it. Because you know what? I'm not going down as a slave. To quote another famous person who fought for freedom, Harriet Tubman. This is what she said. I freed thousands of slaves. I could have freed 1,000 more if only they knew they were slaves. And that's the problem. Most Americans, most people throughout the world, at this very moment, don't realize that you're slaves. Or at least you're about to become slaves. And I rather die with what little freedom I have left fighting, going down in a blaze of glory, than be a goddamn slave. No, thank you. I've seen how slaves have been treated in the past, through history books. Not just African American slaves, but slaves throughout the span of history. All right? And no, thank you. I don't want to be a slave, and I know everyone listening to me doesn't want to be one either. So you have a decision to make. Either you stand up for freedom and liberty, or you become a slave. And in closing, you know what? We're all responsible for the choices we make in life. The good decisions as well as the bad decisions. That's what happens when we have freedom and liberty, individual rights, and individual choice. I could talk all day long till I run out of breath to try and convince you to stand up for what you believe in. But in the end, that decision is yours. I can't force you to say, I don't want to be a slave, or I'm not taking any more of this bullshit. I can't force you to do that. That's a decision you have to make for yourselves. I've made that decision for myself, and I accept the consequences. I accept what's coming my way. Whether it's stormtroopers in the middle of the night, or maybe one day being remembered as a hero. I accept that. Whatever fate has in store for me, I've already, set myself on that course to whatever future is there. Whether I'm remembered or not, I don't care. I choose to stand for something, despite the fact that I don't have talent or skills in basic things that most people did, several generations back, like farming, milking the cows, raising chickens, mechanical, like I mentioned. I don't have those skills. But you know what I do have? I have freedom. I have liberty in my heart. And another thing I happen to have that I was actually taught is I know how to use firearms. And I know how to speak. And I know how to talk. Maybe not the best in the world, but I still know how to do that. I still know how to open my big fat mouth and yap because I do believe in the First Amendment. Maybe a little bit more than I believe in the Second Amendment, but when I lose that First Amendment right, that's when I start using the Second Amendment. And hopefully we will subvert that. Hopefully we can turn things around at the, it's like a minute to midnight, or whatever the saying goes. And I just sincerely hope that you are ready and willing to do whatever it takes peacefully to turn things around in this country. And if worse comes to worse, if taking up arms does become our last resort, then I sincerely hope that I'm not alone. I hope that as many of my fellow brothers and sisters who are Americans, true Americans, and it doesn't matter what, like I said, it doesn't matter if you're white or black or Jewish, Muslim, atheist, Christian, Catholic. It doesn't matter if you're gay, straight, bisexual, transsexual. I don't care. I love you if you're willing to stand up and fight. Whether you're just a regular citizen or an officer in the police force or someone serving in the military. As long as you, when that time comes, if it comes, and I hope to hell it doesn't because it's going to get bad no matter what, I hope that you're standing beside me on the side of liberty and freedom, even if we're hopelessly outnumbered and we're all left to slaughter. Maybe we'll take a couple of those bastards down with us. And finally, for all the Lieutenant Pikes out there, for all of you federal agents that are listening to my podcast, scribbling down every little thing I say, it's not too late for you either to do the right thing, to repent, to come back to the Constitution, to stand with the Bill of Rights and with the people of this republic. And I sincerely hope you do. It doesn't matter whether you're upper level or lower level in whatever various department, whatever one of the alphabets. It doesn't matter if you're a police officer. I am proud to call you a fellow American if, when the time comes, you do the right thing. I know circumstances have led you to wherever you are right now, whether you're a police officer or in the DHS, TSA, whatever. The point is, when the time comes, I sincerely hope you stand with us, not against us, because if you stand against us and if we succeed, then if there is a God, a supreme being, I sincerely hope that he or it has mercy, because we won't. Until then, we are going to stay the course and peacefully resist this tyranny by supporting Ron Paul and standing up for the First and Second Amendments, for the Constitution, the Bill of Rights. Hopefully, that'll be enough to turn things around. And if not, then God help us all.